Okay, so welcome everybody to our July edition of the Lunch and Learn webinar series, where we tell you all about what's going on here at Compleat and how you can get the most out of your Compleat subscription. Today's session, we're going to be covering the custom reporting tool, and just a little extra, we'll also be covering the invoice packs tool within the system as well. Before we get started, just wanted to introduce our sponsor for this session, Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So thank you ever so much for sponsoring us. You can book vehicles using their widgets now in our ecosystem for preferential hire rates, and I'll be giving you a quick demonstration on how to do that later in the session. So today's session, as I said, we're going to be covering the custom reporting. Just talking about some of the benefits of it, also about the invoice packs and your data that is held within the iCompleat ecosystem. As usual, we'll give you a quick live demo. I'll then show you the new widget for the Enterprise Rent-A-Car within the Compleat ecosystem, and then we'll just have an opportunity for any questions that you've got, and obviously we'll provide answers where we can. Obviously, this is myself. I'm a software implementation consultant here at iCompleat. Just the regular housekeeping for those who do attend these sessions regularly. Obviously, welcome back. As you're probably aware, if we just keep all microphones muted just for the duration of the session. In your window where you're watching this, hopefully you will see a chat option. There is you'll see a chat option. Don't go for the chat one, go for the Q&A option. I was looking at the wrong one. So you should have a Q&A option. So if you do have any questions, if you could pop them in there for me, please. We'll go through those at the end of the session. Obviously, we're recording the session, and you'll all get a copy to the recording at the end of this. So introducing the custom reports tool. So within iCompleat, there's obviously the standard reports that you have available to you, where you can drill down, filter onto transactions, etc. You can export them to Excel, and you can decide which reports are and are not available to the individual users. Now, with the custom reporting tool, what this does is this presents you with basically a data dump of everything in the system, and from that you can then drill down into the specific data that you are looking for, and then you are able to export that to Excel. So it's giving you that ability to obviously filter using two different tools that I will talk you through when we go through the demo, and obviously drilling down into that. And you're able to put in those parameters and subsequently save those reports as well. And you can control who creates reports and who can amend the filters and save the changes on those filters as well. So the benefits that the reports provide is it's a more personalized report that you can build for specific teams that they can then come in and run again and again. So that's a time saving. By adding the specific filters in for the actual data that you're looking for, that's bringing you the accuracy in the reporting, and obviously the sharing, as I've already mentioned, that is saving time, and it's giving the control to the users for them to be able to run the particular report whenever they need it. So let's just go and have a look at the demonstration. So as always on these sessions, I'm going to be using a demonstration setup for iCompleat. Now, to access the custom reports, it's accessed through this tile here, and it's this saved report that we'd be looking for and a new report. You'll notice I've got an example supplier report created, and that's a previously saved report, and that report is available immediately to all users within the iCompleat system. So if I create a report and save it, this is the report that'll be available to all the users. Now, on that topic, there is new functionality that should be coming out shortly within the next few weeks that will enable you to restrict who has access to a particular report. So watch this space. That is, or rather should be, something that is coming out. So obviously it's subject to internal quality assurance checks, etc. But that is something that should be coming out soon, the ability to restrict who has access to a particular report that you've created. Now, if we have a look at the tool itself, I'm going to go into the new report tool. And what it will do is it will pick up by default a date range. So it's picking up from, or rather saying, is on or before today, and then it's working back 1 month from today. And I can change that. I can go as far back as a year. So I could go right the way back to the start of the year. Down at the bottom, we've got all the transactions that currently fit the criteria for the last month. And now that I've opened the date range up, I just need to click this apply filters button, and you can see it's now bringing back all of the transactions that have gone on in the system since the beginning of the year. Obviously I'm on a demo system, so I haven't got much in there, but if we just have a look at the results that have come through, we've got transaction types, so a mixture of orders and invoices, the titles, information like the supplier reference for an invoice, purchase order numbers, the order, or rather requisition or invoice reference, sorry, net VAT and gross totals. And if I scroll across, the information continues on and on, including things like delivery dates for an order, the current approver, if it is out for approval, whether it's been approved or not, whether it's been paid or not, etc., and any department analysis or cost center analysis that you may have on there. Now we can move these columns around very simply by dragging and dropping, and that will store that if we save the report for us. So moving the columns is possible, so we can kind of get an idea, get all the information that we want at the beginning of the report. We also have the option to choose which columns we do and do not see. So for example, I've got a column here saying payment due date. If I didn't want that column on this report, all I'd need to do, click the three dots this button, come down to columns, and it's in here that we can see all of the columns that have been selected, including some additional ones that we haven't yet included. And if we didn't want payment due date, then it's just a case of finding payment due date, unticking, you can see it's removed that column for me. It might be that we want to see account code, so we can then add the account code in, and that will include that into our report. And if I was to, because at the moment it's showing everything from a header level, if I was to click on the downward arrow, it would give us the line, and in there is now account code. I can, as you probably saw when I clicked on the three dot assist button, also sort ascending, descending. I can achieve that as well just by clicking on the column heading itself. You'll notice we've got the upward and downward arrows. Now, similar to when we're looking at the orders trays or the invoices trays, if we click on one column to order by that and then come to another column and order by that, it actually removes it from this side, whereas remembering in the invoices or the orders it will retain that. So if you find that you're filtering in those columns and it doesn't quite look right, it might be because you've still got a filter retained on the previous column, but in here for the customer reporting it will remove that for us. Now once we've got all the information that we're looking for, obviously we have an export button here, so we can export everything to Excel, and that will export the header and the lines information for us. We could add to our filters as well. So I've got in here everything that has gone on in the system between the 1st of January to the to today, and it might be that I just want to see the invoices. So all I'd need to do, coming up to the top, I've got the option to add an expression or add a group. So what I could do is, let's say I want to see, I'm going to add an expression and tell it that I just want to see purchase orders, which would be accessed through transaction type, doing it the wrong way around. So we're going to scroll down to transaction type is equal to, and then we've got order, and I can filter, update the results, and you'll see that I've only got orders in here now. There isn't a supplier reference on the orders, so I could get rid of that column just to save me some real estate. And supplier ref is going to be around here somewhere. There we are. Get rid of that one. Then what I could do is, let's say I can see in here I've got orders for Teco Drive and Dynamic and supplier 1, and I only want the Teco Drive or Dynamic. So all I'd need to do is up at the top here, I could add in a group and I could say or, and then if I add expression, I could then go through into the criteria and say supplier name is equal to Dynamic, and then add another expression, so it'd be or supplier name is equal to Teco Drive. Then if I apply the filters, we can see that it is only showing, if I just filter on supplier name, we've only got Dynamic or Teco Drive suppliers coming through. So that's kind of using the added expression for dates and an initial transaction type, and then I've added a group where it is then containing 2 more expressions saying if the supplier name is equal to Dynamic or supplier name is equal to Teco Drive. So once I've got the report built, also not forgetting that we've got all of these other criteria in here that we could use as we're going through and building our custom report. But once we've got the report built, we can then save it. Now, the saving is of a report, and the further changes to the filter and subsequent saving of those changes is restricted at user level. So you'd have a group of users who are able to view reports. They can change their filters in that report, but they can't save those changes. And then we'd have another group of super users, if you like, who are able to run the reports, amend the filters, and save the changes to those amended filters. I'll show you where those are set in the user settings in a moment. But I've got my report here. I think I've already got one called example supplier report, so we'll call this number 2, and we'll just pop in a description. And I'm going to click on confirm save. Now, once the new functionality has been released, which hopefully within a few weeks, for us to be able to restrict which users can see this report, we'll be expected to see another field here where we can choose the names of the users who will be able to run this report going forward. But I'm going to click on confirm save. That has saved my report for me. You'll notice that it has shrunk the filter section down up at the top for me. I can click on there, that will bring it back, and click on the arrow that takes it away, and down at the bottom I've got a delete and a save. Now if I go back to my main reporting page, you can see there's my new report. If I want to run it, come into it, all the criteria is there ready for me. I can export, or if I wanted to include a different supplier, I could come in and change and then apply filters. That refreshes it, and then you can export to Excel. Now, in order to be able to get access to the custom reporting side, to see this tile for new report, what we would need to do is through the user configuration is we would be going into the user, we'd be going into the reporting side, and we would be giving access to custom reporting. We'd toggle that on for the user. That gives them the access and the ability to see and run reports. This next option that would appear, allow creating stroke editing custom reports, if we have that toggled on, that's what will give them the ability to then create and save, and subsequently amend and save. Now, just to show you how that looks for a user who hasn't got the ability to create and save, I'll go into Bert's record. You can see that Bert has the ability to access the custom reporting, but does not have the ability to edit or save the report. And if we go into Bert's login, we can see that he will have the access to the custom reporting tile, and he will have the access to these, but if we go and build, or rather if Bert goes and builds a new report, there's no save button. And Bert does have access to these currently. If we go into here, whilst Bert can change the criteria and run it for another group of suppliers, they're not able to save. There's no save or delete button here. So that's the difference between the two levels of access currently, not forgetting the pending access, pending ability that's coming out for you to be able to restrict from the get-go who can and cannot see that information. And obviously, as I've been saying, don't forget that once it's in this screen, you can filter, move the columns around, sort, etc. And once you're happy, you can then export to Excel and it will bring it out into an Excel spreadsheet for you. So that's the custom reporting, getting data out of the system. Now, the other topic I wanted to cover through this was the invoice packs. And what the invoice packs will do is allow you to get a soft copy of the invoice that has been processed through the system, and an optional second page, which would be the timeline that the invoice followed. So invoice packs are primarily related to fully approved invoices. And the way that they're created is that we go through the invoice packs tile. Now you notice I don't have a tile here saying invoice packs. So what I'm going to do is give the user access to invoice packs. So I'll go into my user and it's through the reporting tab again. We have a toggle here for create and access printable invoice packs. I'm going to toggle that on and immediately another option appears asking, are they an invoice pack approver? So you can create a pack that is sitting there ready and waiting to be processed. You can have one person create the pack and then another person review and approve that pack. Once an invoice is included in a pack, then it is locked into that pack, can't be included in another. So if you're happy for the same user to create the pack and approve it, you can toggle both of these on. But if you'd rather just have somebody create it but then another person approve it, obviously you can have one user that has both access and another just has the create and access ability. So I've given my user both options and I'll show you at what point it asks if you want to approve it. So I'm just going to save that down, go back to the home screen, and we can see there's my invoice packs tile. Now if I go into the invoice packs function, we are presented with a screen that's similar to this. So what I'm seeing at the top is all of the invoice packs that have previously been created and or approved. We can filter on certain packs from here. We can export this to Excel and we can view existing packs as well. We'll have a look at those in a moment. Down at the bottom is where we create a new pack. So it's telling me that I have 13 invoices available to make an invoice pack. Now, what makes them available is the fact, as I said before, that they have been fully approved within iCompleat. So I've got 13 invoices that have been fully approved since the last time an invoice pack was created, and obviously the invoices that were subsequently put into there. You do get a warning, a large invoice pack will take a long time to create, so do be wary of that. If you've got hundreds of invoices, do allow it the time to run. The time it will take is obviously going to depend on how big the invoice is and how many you are including, but we're not expecting days. It might take, if you've got kind of hundreds, it might be an hour or so to create it, so just be aware of that. Better to do it in smaller batches, so at least you can easily see when one's created and get on and do other things. But what it's asking for here is description. So I'm going to put in here July pack, and I've got the toggle here. Do I want to include the invoice details? So that's the invoice itself. Do I want to include that, yes or no? And then the timeline, do I want to include that, yes or no? So I could have just the invoices, and what it will do is create a continuous PDF file that will have just the invoices one after the other, or I can include the timeline, so it would be invoice and then second page would be the timeline that invoice followed to gain approval, and then the next invoice, the timeline, etc. But once we've made that selection, we click on create new pack, and it's asking us, would you like to choose the invoices that are going in this pack or add all available? So we can choose or add all. So if I click on add all, I'm going to have 13 invoices go into that pack. I don't want all of them to go through because I'd like this to be able to demonstrate to someone else later on. So I am going to choose the invoices, and I'm just going to go for the top 4 invoices like so. Once I've made the choice, click OK. And now it's asking, do you wish to approve the invoice pack? Now, do you remember when I was going through the user permissions, we had the option for pack creator and a pack approver? Because I've given the permission to this user to be the creator and the approver, it's here that I can, or rather it's because of that, I can say that, yes, I'd like to approve. If I say no, this is how it would look in the system. You can see a pack has been created, and I've got the ability to delete it. Note that you don't have the ability to delete on an approved pack. So these are already approved invoice packs, and there's no delete. So again, once the invoice is in a pack, it's locked into that pack. It can't be included in another pack later down the line. But what I can do from here is obviously delete it if I want to add more invoices to it, or I've got the ability to approve. So this ability to approve could be given to a separate user who would come in, review the pack. Yeah, still going through its update, but once the invoice is there, it would review. I could review the invoices, add or remove anything. And once I'm happy, I click approve. Now, if we have a look at these existing packs, if I click on view, just give you an idea of what the system will produce. So this is an invoice pack that was created back in May. It's given a reference, the description, how many invoices, and then the total gross amount. And if we scroll down, so this is a pack where we included the timeline and the invoice itself. So the first page is for an invoice for Crown Venue Catering. Let me just zoom in a bit so we can actually see what's going on. So we've got the invoice date, payment date, or rather payment due date, sorry, who the supplier was, their reference, summary information about the invoice itself, and then over here, graphical representation of the approval timeline that it went through. And as I scroll down, I've got a copy of the invoice itself. If I go a bit further, I've then got my next supplier Teco Drive, copy of the approval timeline, summary information, scrolling down, then the invoice itself. And it'll keep doing that all the way through until it's got all the invoices. And obviously, if I had not said to include the approval timeline, it would have omitted these invoice detail pages, and it would just be invoice after invoice after invoice that we'd have in that pack. So this is just another way to get information out of the system. In this example, it's the invoices themselves, and obviously the PDF file has been brought down. You can then save to a secure location, so at least you've got a copy of the invoices outside of iCompleat. So hopefully those 2 areas have been of use. Whilst I'm in the system, the one thing I did just want to go through, obviously, our Compleat ecosystem. So it's our built-in supply network that connects businesses with trusted providers across a huge range of industries. So whether you're looking for office supplies, financial solutions, or specialist services, the ecosystem makes it seamless to find, connect with, and buy from the best suppliers without all the usual hassle. And what you see here is just a small snapshot of the many suppliers available through our platform. And obviously there's our kind sponsors for this session, Enterprise Rent-A-Car. And if I just pop back into my system here, you can see we've got the banner across the top, or we've got the tile for the ecosystem here. And if we go to Enterprise, as promised, I was going to show you the cool new widget that is in there. So what you'll find under the Enterprise Rent-A-Car is a book. Now, if we click onto the book now, we can select where we want to pick up from. So I'll just pop in the postcode near me. We can see all of the available options, and we can browse the vehicles, and then we can go through and book our vehicles like so. So a very cool widget now in the ecosystem. And lastly, just before I leave the demo, is if you wanted any further information on the invoice packs or on the reporting side, don't forget in the Help Center, which you can access through the burger menu up at the top left-hand corner, go down to Help, and then down here, if we pop in Custom Reports, that will bring us to this option here. And if we click on this icon, that will open it up into the full Help Center for us, where if I then click on Home, you can see we have a huge wealth of information, including the recordings to all previous Lunch and Learns. So let's close that down and let's see if we have any questions at all. So I'll just navigate to my Q&A box. So just let that load up. And excellent. So yeah, we've got some questions. So how do I delete an invoice pack I don't need anymore? So yes, unfortunately, as I said, once an invoice pack has been created, it's locked in. If it has been done in error and does need to be deleted and all the invoices freed up, then if you log a support ticket, they might be able to run a process to be able to undo that and reset it back. Another question here, can you filter on the date of approval? So this would be in the custom reporting side. So if we go back to the reports and back into here, and if let's have a look. So date created, date approved. Date of approval, yes, yeah. So date approved is sitting there, so you can filter on that as well. So we've got equal, on or before, on or after, current month, today, before, etc., etc., goes on and on. So yes, yeah, date approved would be the field that you are looking for. So other questions that I regularly get asked is, can you restrict the access? And as we've said, that is on its way, hopefully. It's also things like what fields can you include, and that's obviously easy to see through here. What I've found when I've been using this for customers myself to build them reports is that if you are adding criteria, regularly click the apply filters button. So we could kind of go through and say we're looking for a particular purchase order number, or we're looking for a particular created date, etc. I'd add that criteria, then apply filters, add my next criteria, set that in, apply filters. The reason being is because I've had it before in the past where I've gone through and added loads and loads of criteria, applied a filter, and it's given me a blank screen. I then don't know which criteria has caused that blank screen. So just a bit of advice, if you are adding criteria, regularly click the apply filters just to make sure that your criteria hasn't broken your report. Obviously, if any other questions do pop in to your minds, then do feel free to reach out to us. If I can find the button to get the slide. So the new piece of added deliverable that we'll give you is a session takeaway. So we'll be working on that in the background, and you'll get a copy of the recording and a cheat sheet on this. And we've got our next Lunch and Learn session scheduled for the 12th of August. again at 12 p.m. and invitations to follow. So obviously do look out for those, and look forward to welcome you on the next session. Just leaves me to say thank you ever so much for joining this one. Appreciate you giving up your time. If you do have any further questions, obviously we've got a customer success team who can be contacted at success@completesoftware.com, or obviously connect with us at LinkedIn. But thank you ever so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the day, and then enjoy indeed the rest of the week. All the best. Take care. Bye.